All right, we're ready. This one is going to be a little change of events.
Yeah.
Way from on the Lake Freighter side.
Yep. We've done a lot of these podcasts on Lake Freighters, so we decided kind of long. We'll change it up a little bit.
Just, hear us ramble.
Yeah, we just dropped a video on a local railroad to us that's abandoned. So let's talk about some abandoned railroads nearby and some other cool stuff.
Yeah, just more so like Central Ohio.
Yeah,
maybe like expand out a little bit more. Whatever. Well, yeah, we're rambling about whatever.
Right.
Whatever we feel like it. But starting off, definitely the video that we just posted was a local railway to us, which I didn't even know was abandoned until probably like 1, 2, 3 years ago. Actually, it's already been that long, 4 or 5 years ago, where I did like a high school project on it. Threw it in there for like 30 seconds, and that was it. And I was like, man, I go through this area literally every single day, and there's going to be a whole railroad right here. So we're like, fuck it, let's make a video about it.
Let's make a video about it.
So we did.
Part one.
We got part 2 to do, which where we went, Lodi to Worcester. That's where I mostly did all my research from. Part 2 is going to be from, because it was called the Millersburg branch.
Yeah.
Part 2 is going to be from Worcester to, there's like a section of it that's still there, and then it stops, and then it goes to Millersburg.
And probably not going to go super far south of Worcester.
Right.
That part was abandoned in the 20s, so there's like nothing left. Now the part from from Lodi to Worcester, which is what the video covered, that is still pretty seeable because the rails were pulled up in 78.
Mm-hmm.
They filed for abandonment in 75. So
good.
It was only 50 years ago instead of 100. So that's easier to find. But yeah, so we have that one. There's still some really cool buildings that survived for that.
Yep.
Couple in town in Worcester. That's kind of we spent a lot of time in Worcester. That's kind of the big town in your house. But there's still a station there.
Yeah.
And it's a barber shop. But yeah, it's still there after all these years.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
We'll cover that.
We will. In the next video, we'll do more information about it. If you've been to Worcester, if you've gotten off of Route 30 to go to downtown Worcester, or if you've gone to the Wayne County Fair, if any of you have, I don't know who's watching our videos really. We appreciate all of them though, regardless if nobody watches them or if anybody.
We just like doing stuff.
Yeah,
why not?
Worcester, Ohio. If you go to the Wayne County Fairgrounds, you'll see the remaining tracks of the Millersburg branch because they kind of surround and go through to a degree the fairgrounds, but also the Dick Stoll Barbershop that's right on the edge of the fairgrounds. That's the original B&O depot. That's
awesome.
It is very.
I've never been up close to it. I walked past it. I was just going to the fair, and I've always wondered because the train cars sit there. Yeah. I've always wondered because it's not that big of a stretch. Like they literally just move the rail cars that go to Frito-Lay right there. They just move them a little ways, don't they?
So that area serves 2 purposes. Those tracks. They move cars to Frito-Lay because we got a Frito-Lay in Worcester. They get a ton of business. That's like the primary reason that this line still exists. The other part is it's what's called transloading. So it's where
you did tell me about.
Yeah,
that. I remember.
So it's where you park train cars to where a truck can get close enough to unload the train car into the truck, and then the truck will take it to where it needs to go because there's a plastic piping place that's nearby, but it's not accessible by rail. So they'll send trucks down to the fairgrounds where they can unload it, take it up there. It's plastic pellets. Take it up there, unload it, come back down. They'll do that until the train cars are empty. Very similar to how they would do it if they took it right to the factory. But this is really neat, and this is not super related, but to a degree it is. They actually have train cars on this and at this factory that's not close to any rails, not accessible by rail, never has been. They have train cars that are sitting on the property that they use as storage.
Huh.
Yeah.
Where's this at?
This is on Route 30.
Okay.
Between 250 and like where we were at Sunday. But it's like ADS Plastics, I think is what it's called. But they got like 4 or 5 train cars that they're hopper cars, and it's kind of hard to see, but you can see the outline and know what it is. And they're all hooked up to piping and everything. And from what I understand, the trucks unload from train cars, and then they take it and load it back into the train cars that are permanently on the property up there. So it's not like they don't have train wheels or anything. It's just the storage, just the hopper.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's whack.
That's pretty cool. And honestly, it's kind of smart. I mean, I bet you those train cars, if you had the means to get them there, were probably cheaper than building whole storage containers.
Yeah, you got to build a whole building just for storage then, or you already have these.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Screw it. Use that then.
It's pretty neat. And there's a Y, which in railroad terms it looks exactly like it sounds. It's shaped like a Y, and it serves the purpose of like you can.
He's really smart about all this. I'm just listen to him.
You can turn train cars or engines around in it, so like you back down one side and you can go out the other side, or vice versa. So there's that's in the fairgrounds, and it actually divides like the horse barns on the Wayne County Fairgrounds from like the cattle area. But it's right there. They use it all the time. It's extremely useful. And then they actually go across a pretty busy highway to get to this. There's no bridge. It's literally a crossing. When they do this run twice a week, they stop the traffic on a highway.
Yeah. I've never seen
to get across.
I've never been on it.
Me neither.
Been stopped, but I feel like it would be. I feel like it's borderline just a clusterfuck every single time.
It has to be.
But cross.
I kind of understand how they do it, because this is not like they're not going fast or anything. Basically, the train pulls up to where the lights get activated, because there's no cross gates, because people are just gonna blow right through it. 'Cause it's the highway. So
they get out.
They might. That's called flagging the crossing. I don't know if they do that or not, but it would make sense if they did. But they basically kind of stop and wait for traffic to stop, and then they proceed across the highway, and then traffic's back to doing their thing. But I've been down there once when they've come across. I didn't actually like watch them come across, because I was actually trying to take pictures of the train going past the old B&O depot, which is a barbershop now, and I did, and there's some cool pictures. Maybe we can throw some up. But I was down there and I got to go up to where they were working in Frito-Lay, and that's cool because, I mean, that's a steep grade. That for a rail line, you know, they don't. It's not like a car. Like a car can go up pretty steep.
What is a steep grade percentage-wise for railroad?
I don't think anything has ever exceeded 6%.
6%.
Okay. That's like not possible.
Okay.
But like it might be like a 3% grade, which is
so in railroad terms, that's really steep.
Yeah, like 1% is like pretty steep, but that's pretty possible. I think through Worcester and like basically the stretch from Shreve to Orrville. It's a really big grade. Supposedly, it's like the biggest west of like the mountains.
Well,
yeah. This is the old Pennsylvania Railroad main line to Chicago. Runs through nearby to us. I mean, I've lived in the same town, but nearby for him. And this section is the steepest out of like the entire route. The Fort Wayne line is what it's called. Now it's run by Norfolk Southern. Doesn't really get used a ton. At most, you'd get 5 trains a day. That's literally the maximum that they're technically allowed to do in 24 hours. But it's a super steep grade. Trains are always getting stuck. Like now, like they used to have helper engines in town.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, they had a crew.
They still get stuck.
They still get stuck to this day. They've done so much trying to make it more efficient, yet
get rid of the helper engines. They get stuck. Then you're stuck.
They're stuck. You got.
They just have to sit there and wait.
They have to sit there and wait until they can send a train crew out to help them, which usually means one of the. It's called a local. In the railroad world, where basically it's just like 2 smaller engines that just go out to serve some businesses. So sometimes they'll take they'll tell the crew on that train to drop their cars and come basically push or help pull this train over the grade. And by this train, the train that's getting stuck is like the big freight train that goes to the big train yards. They don't do any like the small work. It's usually a long train, but that's the one that's getting stuck. Or like a coal train, not our coal. The Black Diamond coal.
All right, my bad. You got me worried there.
Yeah. We're. I mean, he would like this train because it's heavy, and you know how he likes them heavy girls. But nothing wrong with heavy girls. But anyways, so yeah, that's they get stuck all the time. And actually, not too long ago, they had to like call in a crew specifically to do this. So that means 2 guys making anywhere from like $20 to $30. They had to pay basically a full day's wage to get this train moved because they're too. I'm gonna refrain because I don't work for them. I just take pictures of them. Sometimes people like me try to think, including myself, that we know better than them, and it sure seems like it sometimes. But anyways, they had to pay these 2 guys full day's wage to come move this train. Which is what they used to do anyways, but it
seemed very efficient.
Oh, totally.
Seems like it's really helping out. Seems like they know what they're doing. You should go work for them.
Yeah,
you
totally.
Tell them what to do. But yeah, that railroad part 2, we're gonna be working on that here real
back
soon.
to the B&O one.
That's
the one we're gonna do part 2 of.
We're gonna be doing that, and then kind of just around. There's a little town in Ohio, in central Ohio. It's called West Salem. We've gone through it pretty much our entire lives. Little town, there really ain't nothing there. There's a railroad that goes through it. When I was a kid, whenever you're born, whenever you get to the age of I have a conscience, you either like boats, trains,
tractors, dinosaurs,
semis. Well, I got the boats and trains parked. Trains really hard, so whenever my grandma lived right by the railroad track, which was Ashland Railway.
It is now, yes.
It is now.
But when it was then, too, when we were a kid.
Okay, when I was a kid. And whenever he'd come through, she would, loudest thing on the planet. I would be like, oh, my God, I have to go. They'd go through probably 3-4 mile an hour.
Yeah.
I sit there, oh, my God, you guys are awesome. The dudes were always, I remember them always waving to me. Mm-hmm. Then they'd leave. And 2021, which I didn't know, it
was the last year they ran
over there because they had one customer, which was Premium Building Products, and which I don't really know what they. Do you know what they actually took over there? Like what was because they were hopping.
It was probably plastic pellets.
Plastic pellets then.
Yeah.
Okay, because they would always have the same 8 or 10 train cars that would always sit there. Train would come. I don't know how many times a week or how many times a month it'd come.
I don't know.
It was very rare. It wasn't very often.
Ashland, they run to maybe 3 days a week.
3 days a week.
They still run there. It's just the portion from Ashland to West Salem they don't run on anymore.
They don't run on as of
the tracks. Ones. They're in too bad a shape, and they just don't want to fix them.
Yeah.
And actually, I found out recently that the whole transloading thing that I just talked about, they're doing that in Ashland with Premium. So Premium just has to take it I think it's an experimental thing at this point, to where if this works, they are definitely not fixing the track. If for some reason it doesn't work, which I highly doubt that it won't work,
because they
might fix it.
Their entire, because every time I go past all the time, Premium in the back they still got all their hookups and everything.
Yeah,
everything
right.
Ready
They
to
will.
Go.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. They ain't never gonna run a train out there ever again.
Most likely not.
It's just too easy.
If they do, it'd be to pull the rails up.
Yeah.
But
that's a shame.
It is a shame
because I remember I didn't get almost hit by a train. This is a pretty funny story. As I was coming back from high school one day in my Trans Am, I got a Trans Am. T-tops were all windows. And it was a beautiful spring day. I was coming home and there's a road basically, and I was turning right, and the railroad tracks are right here. I'm turning right, so I'm going like whoop right over them. And I turn right, and I guess because the crossing, they didn't have no gates. They were
it's just.
And I swear to you, the bells weren't even on because I didn't hear them. So I start turning, and all I hear is, and I turn, window down, T-tops off, just this train right there. I floor it. I'm freaking out. I look behind. I felt so bad. I was so scared. He was going.
Yeah.
Like if I literally just was stupid, he would have straight. He would hit me, and I would have just. Even granted, he was going like 2 miles an hour, but watch out for trains.
The train wouldn't have stopped.
No,
Yeah.
sped up. But that was the last time I seen a train.
Yeah, the Federal Railroad Administration. I think it was actually 2022 when they officially. It was either like the end of 21 or 2022. They like officially said that you got to fix this, or you're not running. You're not running until you fix this. So
I wonder how like really bad it is because it didn't look bad. But obviously, it can look fine.
It's like the condition, like
wavy tracks, ties, just everything like that.
There's like some rule. I think it depends. Like they're like mainline tracks. You have to have like a good tie every like 3 ties, I believe, or it might be less than that. But it's something along the lines of like you can have some rough ties. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need to get scared because there's some rotted train ties. It's just there's so many of them that a few that are not in great shape is not going to greatly impact. Like there's been studies about this and stuff, but I think that was one of the big reasons why this section of the Ashland Railway.
I wonder how much it'd be to fix it.
I think the man
like
hour.
$2 million?
Probably, and I don't know. It probably would bankrupt a little company like that.
Yeah. But that route from Ashland to West Salem,
and that we're getting another
way abandoned.
That was another mainline track there originally. It's crazy because if you go through it now, you can never tell. You know, there was 2 tracks, 50 to 60 trains a day in its heyday.
Insane.
Probably more than that. I bet you during World War II, there's probably even more than that.
Insane.
New York to Chicago. And I just saw something today, actually. It was the fastest route from New York to Chicago.
Really, that one?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it unfortunately, the Erie Lackawanna that owned it kind of last in its entirety, ran it last. They had some horrible financial situations that happened in the 70s. There's a hurricane that virtually destroyed their track on the East Coast, and they couldn't really afford. They were trying hard. They were trying to find a merge partner, but eventually they got rolled into something that's called Conrail, and Conrail didn't really need the lines. They were kind of focused more on fixing the routes of one of the other companies. They absorbed something like maybe I don't know the exact number, but it was like 10 different companies around that.
No shit.
And actually the lines we were talking about in Worcester where the trains get stuck all the time, that was absorbed in the Conrail too. Those were originally 2 different companies, and actually they crossed in Mansfield, which is not too far from us. But 1976 they became one company, and they decided to favor the route through Worcester, which was the Pennsylvania Railroad, and then a main line through Cleveland that went to Chicago. That's more so than the line through Worcester, which that ultimately is like the only one surviving to its strength today. The one that ran through Cleveland to Chicago. So they didn't really need these other lines, so either they were downgraded or ripped up in the case of the line through West Salem for the most part. This part got downgraded. It's still in existence. At this point, not usable. But there are portions they still use, but I would say that probably 75 to 80% of it was ripped up.
So that line that's from West Salem to Ashland right now, obviously that one,
yeah,
they just abandoned. They don't use that. But from Ashland to Mansfield, then it goes. So that was one of the parts as well, like that main line
flat.
Yeah, Chicago to New York.
Yep.
Which that they still use.
They still use that.
I hear them all the time. Like, didn't you just tell me today or yesterday that they're doing maintenance or something like that on the?
No, they were actually going to work in Ashland.
Oh, they were just going
to work to do some work. Yep.
Because I work in Ashland. I work pretty close to the railroad where I'm sitting at work and I can hear the trains, and I hear them all the time.
Yeah.
Like I hear them all the time, and I had to go.
Well, they got a good bit of work between Mansfield and Ashland.
They have a lot of customers in Ashland.
Yeah. Now, beyond the rails, Ashland really doesn't have any surviving Like no buildings are left, which is unfortunate. I think a derailment. I read about this, and there's very few pictures about it too. A couple of derailments before the Erie-Lackawanna, or during the Erie-Lackawanna time, took out the depots in Ashland, the train derailers. Yeah, which sucks. But they west or east of West Salem here. I mean, it's gone to a little town called Rittman, which is probably about 20 miles from here. No rails. You can tell where it's at. It's still.
You can definitely still tell.
Yep. It's still like fenced off private property. The entire thing.
You think that fence was put up by the railroad?
No, it was put up. I think the government technically owns it now. Well, actually, they're the ones who own Conrail, so it's probably government owned.
Press past. I have to go walk on it. Because isn't it you say that from Rittman to some part, it's like the rails to trails.
Creston to Rittman is a rail trail, and actually, most of this line through Ohio, more so on the eastern side, is a rail trail. So Creston to Rittman is a rail trail. It's about 4 miles, and then from Rittman to like Barberton, it's actually still intact and used. Not super busy, but they serve Morton Salt in Rittman. And a couple other customers in Barberton area. And then it's abandoned from like Barberton to Akron, which is maybe 5 miles, maybe 5 to 10 miles. And then it's a rail trail again.
Cool.
And
right on. I want to go walk on it. That'd be sweet.
It's pretty cool.
Like that.
I haven't done the Akron one, but there's actually a bridge in Akron that still has Erie-Lackawanna on it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sweet.
But there's a rail trail that goes, and it I think it breaks off in segments, but then it picks back up in like Monroe Falls, all the way to like Kent, and then for a little bit from Kent, it's still intact, and then beyond that again, it picks up, and I think it stops before the like Youngstown area, Warren area.
Yeah, that's sweet. I'd like to go walk it. That'd be another cool video.
It would be cool. Yeah,
just because that's
and
we can go check out.
I've done the Creston to Rittman one many times. It's pretty cool. There's a couple of depots still intact, and there's like the mile marker post and the whistle, like the old school stone ones, are still intact. And it's like I sent you a couple pictures of them. These are, I think, over by Ashland, like 226 miles for Salonica, New York. It's kind of neat. Still exists, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah. That's a very local railway that they just kind of halfway abandoned. What is it, from West Salem to Rittman? When did they abandon that? They abandoned that in the 70s, like late 70s.
Well, I think 82 is when the vast majority of that system was torn up.
Okay,
so. I guess supposedly there was, or not supposedly, there was a big derailment on these lines in downtown Akron in like 80 or 81 that was kind of like, all right, we're not using these anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Like derailment is in like just bad rails?
Yeah. Well, and I think it was B&O because the Baltimore and Ohio through downtown Akron, which, by the way, the Baltimore and Ohio is now CSX. It's the only line left in downtown Akron, which there's 3 different companies, only one left.
There's so many. This company is this. This company was actually this, but then this was the parent company, but the parent company didn't work, and this company, like, oh my God.
Railroads are so complicated to follow. But there were 3 different companies at one point in Akron. 3 different companies that went. They all kind of ended at the same place to a degree in Chicago, but this section, they were parallel. 3 companies until like 1980. Well, till Conrail, because Conrail then bought 2 of them. But anyways, let's say the mid-70s. 3 companies until the mid-70s. From that point on, there's from that point to now, there's only 1 left. Like we're talking about, there used to be like 6 or 7 different tracks through downtown Akron. There's 2 now. It's crazy. It's crazy to look at like a picture from like 1975 to today. It's hard to tell it's the same place. But
yeah, damn.
So the B&O, that when I think actually that train was on the B&O. It was a grain train. It derailed, and that kind of sparked the end.
Kind of said, like, all right.
Because it kind of destroyed this very intricate crossing point. It was weird, and it was like exclusive to this location. And that's like, yeah, we don't really need this, so we're just going to cut the rails and then tear it up a few years later. But
this guy fucking smart. He knows a lot more about railroads than I do. I'm just learning because I'm always open to learn. I love to learn. Like, I've learned just so much in the last few weeks of just doing this video and what things mean. And
it's,
like, I was always a train freak, but I was never like really, really into it. I was just always like that. I was always just like, that steam engine's crazy. Not really more so on like how routes work. And, like,
now we know a guy that could tell you which individual rivet is on a steam engine.
We know
other guy that we went to school with. He's a
there's a buddy of ours we went to school with. This guy's this is the smartest man I've ever.
When it comes to trains, that's about it.
When it comes to trains, this guy is the biggest. We gotta have him. He's
got to come talk. He's a character. He's a character.
This guy. That's
just about steam engines, though. I don't.
That'd be a good one. That'd be a really good one. But yeah, I gotta tell him about our video.
Yeah,
he'd love it. He'd probably give me so much criticism and so much feedback. And, oh no, there's this, but we'll see. I'm gonna tell him.
We might have to have him on here talk about that, maybe for a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. We gotta try that. But yeah, other than that, some railroads that are still active. That I didn't know that this one we were just talking about.
Yeah,
in Wellington, there's a railroad, which we go past. Us and a couple buddies that we've been doing this for a couple of years. We go from where we live. We got to go on. What's that? That's what road is that? 18. Is that 18? We go on 18. We go up to about through the Sandusky area to get a bowl of ice cream and toss, and we drive there. It's a great time.
A nice hour and a half. It's each way.
About 3 hour round trip. Go get a bowl of ice cream and come back.
It was a good time.
It's tradition. We can't stop now. But we passed this little like depot railroad.
Yeah.
That there's been an engine. There's cars. There's cool stuff sitting there.
A couple of cool engines.
To the right, there's like a little random car. There's actually a steam locomotive.
There is a very rough steam locomotive.
Very rough. I don't even know any history on that, but I seen it when I was little. Like we went to, there's a racetrack close by called Norwalk.
Yeah.
Just Summit Motorsports Park. We go in there. We had a triaxle trailer, like a horse trailer that we used to set up like a booth and do great stuff with. We were on the way back and I was like begging him to stop so I could just look at this locomotive. And he did. He pulled over his building right there. And I remember we walked and I was just like, all right, let's leave. So it was a good time. But yeah. I didn't know that, but to the left of there's like the station with rail cars, and there's I don't know what kind of kind of engine that is.
I think it's called an E8 locomotive.
It's an old school locomotive.
It is. It's really
it's like a really traditional locomotive.
It's called a hood unit. So,
but it works.
It does. There's two of them. There's two.
Oh, there's two?
Yeah, there's two.
Two engines?
I think there's two back there.
Wow, I've only ever seen the one. It's closest to the road, but that's all you can see.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many I think they have there.
They have a handful. It looks pretty sweet. I've heard some not great things about how they run stuff and how they treat people that spectate. I'll call it that.
Because I'd like to stop it and take pictures of her.
I would too.
Look at it.
I've heard not good things about it.
But apparently they don't like that. So
and I don't really even know they're
people doing train.
Yeah, right. It's called a tourist. It's in the train world. It's called a tourist railroad, where their whole purpose is just to haul people in passenger cars. Just because it's a train ride, the whole point is for people who think trains are cool to enjoy their trains.
Yeah.
And they got really mad at some people that were taking pictures of their trains. And
it's like if you're walking along the rails, I kind of understand it because you're trespassing,
right?
But like if you just like pull in the parking lot, take pictures of a couple trains, maybe don't call cops on them or anything.
Yeah,
you're like, hey man, what are you doing? But hey, whatever. I'd still think it'd be cool just to check it out.
I think it would be too.
And that's all they work.
I would even almost want to ride on it, but I don't even know their schedule.
Do they post that?
I don't know. I haven't really looked up it. I know they do like chartered events or like catered. Catered's not the right word. I think chartered is what we're looking for, but where you can kind of rent out the whole passenger car for your group of people. But they do stuff, and it's on an old rail line that it's called
that rail line's not active anymore, is it?
Not other than what they do.
Other than what they do.
It's called the Lorain in West Virginia. And it never went to West Virginia, but they had hopes.
Okay, so it never made it.
Yeah. And it was kind of a subsidiary of another company that's pretty local to us. The Wheeling and Lake Erie, which is another can of worms that we can go into. That was at the intro. I'll just leave it at this for now. We saw a depot that's right next to their tracks in Lodi at the beginning of our Millersburg branch video. We talked about it. It's the one that got the 16 feet blown off of it.
That's nuts.
But they built it, but for some reason they was its own company called the Lorain in West Virginia. It just went to Lorain. It went from Wellington to Lorain. It never went any further south. But
Wellington, Lorain, how far is that?
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't really know. It can't be that far. It might be 20-something miles.
But look up some research on that place to see where those locomotives came from and whatnot. See if we could see their schedule or something. Because it would be cool to just go walk.
Would be. There is some neat stuff back there. There's a pretty cool bridge over some water, which is actually where the
bridge over water.
Man, railroad bridges are pretty cool. It's all about it, when you say it plainly, oh yeah, it's a bridge over water. Yeah. That's not cool, but when you think about more of the engineering and stuff that goes into it, then it might actually be a little cool.
It's just history. People don't give a fuck about history, but I do. You do. People you watching, you do.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that too.
I love drinking.
Probably non-alcoholic, but yeah, I like to go check out that thing sometime. Just figure out what their scoop is because it's there. And if it's a working, running locomotive.
It'd be nice to be able, depending on how much they charge or whatever, go ride on it.
Check it out. Because obviously, to have all that work, it takes a lot of money.
Oh, and those engines, they're from the 50s. Oh, and I think it's an E8 locomotive, and if you're a train nerd or if you're just curious, look it up. They're beautiful.
Throw it up on the locomotive. I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah, there are. They're beautiful locomotives.
I love them.
They're old. They actually, if it is an E8, and I'm pretty sure it is, it's actually got two engines in it. Yeah,
I've only ever seen one engine, but
they're. Well, in each locomotive, there's two diesel engines. I did say earlier that I think there's two different locomotives there. I could be wrong with that. I thought they had two, but I could be wrong. But there's two diesel engines in each locomotive. If it is an E8, and that was kind of an early design to get horsepower up, but hard to maintain. And they had one they sent out last year to get worked on. So it should be good for a while now, but still hard to maintain.
I bet.
But I at least appreciate people doing it because they're beautiful.
Oh yeah, I love it. Think of when I think about that, when I think of that locomotive in my head, I think about the classic 50s. Think about the Santa Fe train.
Yep, that's what you need to think about.
Exactly what that train is.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll check that thing out. Another one that's I like to talk about, which you've been on, you've actually kind of worked for him, is the Cuyahoga Railway.
No, I didn't work for that.
Not worked for him, but you volunteered for him.
I volunteered for that.
Volunteered. Completely different.
My
fault. But the Orrville is another train.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
I don't know a single thing about that.
I know a little bit about them. But no, Cuyahoga's cool. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, Cuyahoga's cool one. I actually kind of try to get myself up to date on this one because I've always heard about it through my whole life. I've just never been there to check it out. I've heard Cuyahoga Valley's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is.
We've kind of just, the closest I've ever been is when we just drove to Ashtabula. Yeah. We kind of went by the big valley. It looks awesome.
It is awesome.
There's a big bridge that goes over the whole valley, which would be cool to check out.
Turnpike goes over, a couple highways go over it, but
that'd be a cool rail.
They have there's a rail line that runs through it that's owned by the Park Service, and that's what this is. It's a tourist railroad. You can ride your bikes on it. A bunch of cool stuff. They have a steam engine coming back this year. That's something they've done for forever. They didn't have it for the last couple of years, but we're hoping to get out and see that.
Nickel Plate Road.
Yep.
65.
765.
Well-known trains.
Probably the most
engines.
famous steam engine that's still running.
It's so. I want to see it so bad. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I got to go out there and at least see it. If I can't ride it, at least see it because you can do that. But I can't. It's going to be sweet because you're going to ride it. You're going to.
I'm hopeful.
You're hoping.
Yeah, tickets go on sale tomorrow. So
do you think it'll sell it really quick?
Oh yeah, that's why I have it marked in my calendar. It went out quick last time, and last time I got some expensive tickets, so I'm not going to do that again this time. But it was cool to do it once because they got they actually have. Well, it's not the Santa Fe, but it's a car that looks identical to what they would have had. It's like a dome car.
Oh, it's the California Zephyr car, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Zephyr? I can remember. Zephyr. But I've always wanted to see that car. I didn't know that.
They have a couple of those. This one is called the. It's like something. The one I rode on was like some Bronco, and it's actually like a Rio Grande car, I believe. But the silver Bronco maybe. But it looks exactly like a Santa Fe, like the Zephyrs would look. But you could actually see. I sat in the dome with my family and my now fiance, and we could see the steam plume from the dome. It was really cool. So that's why I wanted to sit there. Now this time I'm not going to do that just because they were expensive and I don't know. At this point, I don't really need to spend extra money to do it. I just would like to ride behind the train.
I would like to. I've ridden behind one steam locomotive, and that was in Savannah, Georgia. They got like a little like railroad there, which is like I don't remember what the name, Savannah Railroad Museum or whatever.
Probably that, like that.
It's literally just like a block, like a literal block in Savannah, Georgia, and it's just all like straight out of like the 30s, 40s. Like they still have like the active turntable there, roundhouse is there. They still have locomotives in it. It's really cool, but they have just like a little tiny stretch of land, which every month I think the guy said they got to literally strip down locomotive, rebuild it, inspect it, put it back together. I don't know if it's every month or every year or whatnot, but they always switch them out, the locomotive and the like diesel, and it's one little car, and they just go boop boop. But it was, when I was little, it was crazy.
Oh yeah,
it was so awesome.
Yeah, but keeping the history alive, even if it is a short little thing. That's kind of what Orrville's like. Their little tourist railroad. They used to do really cool stuff.
I feel like I rode that before.
Yeah, we talked about this, and I have too. Because when they used to do some of their cooler trips, we rode on them.
So are they all like all year round?
No, they're out right now, and I have volunteered for them. I am a member. I don't know a lot because I haven't done much. There's way better people out there. I'm not. I just know I volunteered a tiny little bit, and I understand.
Better than nothing.
Yeah. But they got not a super, well, it is from the 50s, but it's not like the one that we talked about. It's easier to work on. It's been modernized. They got a couple cars, couple cabooses they use, and think about 4 miles worth of ride track that they take you on. And they've done a lot of great work in the last few years. I mean, I think they've added like a half a mile in the last year of usable track, which is amazing. And they're talking about they're close to being able to use, I think, another half mile, maybe a little bit more.
Really?
Yeah. And this line was completely abandoned and torn up.
Really? Oh, yeah. They're just completely rebuilt.
They are laying track themselves, ballast, highs, everything. And they get a lot of help from some of the bigger companies. It's a nonprofit that runs it. They also have a depot in Orrville that's like. And the depot is like the last of the Pennsylvania Railroad, and it's also important because it's at the intersection of 2 railroad lines. So it's really 2 depots in one, but it's like the last on this railroad line, at least in this section of Ohio. I think there might be one in Bucyrus. From Bucyrus to Alliance, Ohio, really to the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. This is the only one that's still around. It's original. I mean, this thing is old. It might be even into the 1800s. It's a brick building. And what I just found out recently too, and this is really important, they have the switch tower. It still exists. It's to my knowledge, and I've seen a lot of this line and where these towers were, it's the last one left.
And where's this at?
Orrville.
Okay.
And they're having some issues. So they have some people that are like will give them money to fix it and restore it.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. But they moved it in the 80s to where it is right now from railroad property. Unfortunately, to property that's still owned by the railroad. And they can't, these donors will not, like, they won't donate any money to fix this while it's still on railroad property because it's technically, like, it's not supposed to really be there.
Right. I get what you're saying. So, because it's moved. And they would need to move it back.
They need, not back,
but they need
to move it again.
They need to move it again.
And, They have a place where they want to move it. They have to talk to the city of Orrville. It's a process. I personally am friends with somebody on their board, and he's very good at jabbering. So if anybody there is going to be able to do it, it's going to be him. I know the director of, or president director, I can't remember her title. Basically, she was in charge of the whole thing. They're kind of focusing on it. But the goal is to get that moved and get that restored because that would be monumental to preserving history. And I found out recently, last week, that like a lot of the equipment is still inside. So like the levers and controlling mechanisms for the switches that it used to control are still there. You could still see it in its tower. There were so many. Every location where there was multiple tracks had one of these towers. Mm-hmm.
There's none left.
Not in Ohio. From literally this entire line across Ohio, there's not one left.
They need to save this.
I know.
They need to save this and restore it, but they gotta move it.
They got to move it. And the only problem at this moment is getting the land that would be the prime location for it and the most convenient. They got to get it from the city of Orrville. So that's current steps. But I'd love to be able to use our channel to help them with that if possible.
Any of these places.
Any of these places, really.
They're tour routes.
Exactly. And it's local history, which I love.
Oh yeah,
you love too. And spreading the word out there because it's. I've not a lot of people know that that's the last tower left.
I didn't until right now.
The director, she was the director, but the former director is still involved with the organization. She's just kind of taking less responsibility. I told her that, and she's like, I didn't even know that. I didn't know this was the last one left. Every major point on the rail. I mean, there was here, probably. From our spot right here, these towers, they were universal to every railroad. Like they all had them. Obviously, a little bit different in each. There was probably maybe 10 of them, and I would say a 30-mile radius, maybe more. There's one left.
Wow,
and that's different roads. That's not even talking about one railroad. That's all the railroads. There's one left.
They need to save this thing.
They do.
They need to get this. They got to get this thing to work. They got to save this thing. This thing right important.
If they can get it moved, it will happen because it's still structurally sound.
But so they can just pick it up and move it.
In technically simplest way to explain it, yes.
Okay, that's what matters. And I think if they could do it, I think they got to do it. Especially something like that. Meaning it's pretty much like one of a million at this point. Especially the condition that it's in. Yeah. You said that it's pretty much got all its internals still.
It's got all the internals. It does need to be restored, but
if you can, it's literally just a matter of getting it to where it needs to go. And then once it's there, go crazy.
Yeah, fix it up.
So that's awesome. I think that is there anything else really local? I'm trying to think. Obviously, I'm sure there is a couple more here or there. I don't really know.
I could talk for way longer on this, but we probably need to end this off right now.
Let's end it off just for now. Thanks for watching. We'll do this again. God, I can't believe
we got a hole.